file inclusion attacks. Now, in web applications, developers sometimes can include files stored on local or remote servers. Referencing files other than the ones in the web root may cause a full system compromise if the server software executes the included file. So in this section, we are going to discover some file inclusion vulnerabilities. There are basically two types of file inclusions, local or remote file inclusion. The local file inclusion comes out when the user accesses a local file out of the web root directory, and the access file is included in the execution environment of the web application. And the remote file inclusion comes out when the user includes a remote file into the execution environment of the web application. So that way the included file is going to be executed with the actual content and served up to the user. Now, besides being an authorization problem, some people can categorize path traversal and file inclusion vulnerabilities as input validation problems. No matter how you categorize it, it is up to us to evaluate how these vulnerabilities work. So go to Kali, and I'm going to show a basic file inclusion. So log into BWAP. Then from the menu above, go to Remote and Local File Inclusion. Now you see there's a drop-down menu of languages. So when you choose a language in Go, then the URL is changed to this. So then a language parameter is added with the value of the chosen language. But this value seems to me to be a page, lang_n.php. Yeah, so this is suspicious. So the application can load a language file when a user chooses that language, you see. So for us to benefit from this, maybe we're able to load another file on the system? What do you think? Well, let's go and enable Foxy Proxy, then click on Go. Okay, so now go to Burp, and the request comes to Burp. But before forwarding from the action button, let's send the request to the repeater tool, and then let the request go. Now open up the repeater tab. All right, so here's the request. So send it to the server, and it executes without any problem. So let's try to read the magic file on Linux. So instead of this PHP file, type /etc/password and send the request. Okay, so now let's look at the response. Here's the result. We can read a file out of the web root directory. Now, change the cookie security level to medium. Okay, set this to 1. And the same request. So it doesn't work this time, but look at the error. Because it appends a PHP extension to the end of the file that we provided. So we need to get rid of this extension to read the file content. And we do have a little trick for that. You want to know? All right, so just add a null byte to the end of the file, $00, and add the request. And scroll down and see the response, and the content of the file is here. All right, so now clear it here and go back to low level. I want to show you another payload. So sometimes PHP wrappers can help us read a file on the system. So PHP comes with many built-in wrappers for various URL-style protocols for use with file system functions. So what I'll do is I'll just add a PHP filter here, php://filter/resource equals /etc/password. And the response has the file content. Yeah, so when you want to read a special file type, such as PHP or XML, it will break the execution. So in these types of situations, you can encode the file if you want to view it. So now I'm going to paste this payload here, and it'll convert the file to base 64. Send the request. And what you see here is the response has the base64 output of the file. So I'm going to copy just that part and open Decoder and paste it here. And then decode as base64. Okay, here is the content of the password file. Now, you may wonder, well, what's the difference between the path traversal and the local file inclusion? Yeah, many people on the surface might confuse the two, but I'll tell you that in a path traversal flaw, the application will only read the content of the file or directory and then display it. But in a file inclusion flaw, instead of displaying the content, the application will include the file as if it is an executable script, and then execute it with the same privileges as the web application. So I think that's a pretty big difference, and it's, the most evident difference between the two, but they're both very useful. Okay, so let's exploit them then in this way.